Welcome to the Southbridge School Committee meeting for September 30th, 2020. I call it to order at 7:02. Pursuant to Governor Baker's March 12th, 2020 order suspending certain provisions of the open meeting law, Mass General Law, CA, Chapter 16, and the Governor's March 15, 2020 order imposing strict limitations on the number of people that may gather in one place, this meeting of the Southbridge School Committee is being conducted remotely. No in-person attendance of the members of the public will be permitted, but every effort will be made to ensure that the public can adequately access the proceedings as provided for in the order. A reminder that persons who would like to view this meeting while in progress may do so by watching the Southbridge Cable Access Channel 192 or by remote information noted below. We will post a record of this meeting in the town's website at southbridgemass.us as soon as we are able. I guess we're taking minutes, Andrew? You don't have your stuff with you. Okay. Right. Oh, good. My man. I'll do the roll call. Lori Angers? Lori?
Here. Sorry.
That's okay.
Here.
Bill? Okay, he said he's gonna try. Chiro?
Yep.
James
Here.
Below?
Present.
James? Andrew Murch?
Present.
Artina Shea is here, and Spiro Thomo. Spiro? Did we lose Spiro? Oh no. We lost Spiro.
Maybe he's muted.
No.
I don't think so. He might not know how to unmute. So I see his name.
Oh, his name is there? Spiro, the little button with the, looks like a microphone. Could you push on it? Well, we know he's here anyway. Okay. Let's rise and have the Pledge of Allegiance to the flag. I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United
States of America and to the republic
for
which it stands, one nation,
under God, indivisible,
liberty
and justice for all. We got to work that out. Do I hear
Need a little bouncing ball on the tin.
I'll learn. Do we have any public input? Is there anybody from the public who wishes to address this board this evening? I'll try one more time. Is there anybody from the public who wishes to address this board on this evening? Hearing none, we'll move on to discussion of minutes, since we don't have the minutes right now. Okay, new business. The receiver, Dr. Jeffrey Villar, is going to give us an update on the opening of school.
Now you can hear me, and I will share the presentation in just a second. Sorry about that.
No problem.
All right. Again, I appreciate the opportunity to speak to you this evening and share with the community of Southbridge information about the update on the opening of school. This has been, in my career, the most complex school opening I've seen. I've been in school administration for, more than 20 years. So this is a remarkable time to be an educator, to say the least. As we prepared to open, and as I shared with the community prior to opening with this school committee, we've really focused on making sure that staff and students are fully aware of our policies that are designed to keep us all safe during this global pandemic. We have maintained a strict 6-foot physical distancing rule. Our schools have labels on the floor, signs on the walls, indicators to reinforce for students of all ages, K through 12, what 6-foot distancing looks like and where they should stand when they are in our hallways. We have hallways divided to be sure that students are passing each other with appropriate distance. We also have universally required masks for all students in our schools and continue to adhere to that. And there's been students have complied brilliantly, to be quite honest. Dr. Farrick and I have spent quite a bit of time going through the schools in the last 3 weeks, and we continue to see students complying with that regulation with no problem whatsoever. Even our youngest students, occasionally the mask may slip down and you point to your face and the student just pops it right back up. So teachers have really done a great job of working with the students and helping them understand the importance of that. And I would argue, I believe their parents have done so as well at home, being good partners. And it shows as we walk through the schools. Promoting hand hygiene has been super important. And we have, again, large volume of hand sanitizer throughout schools and procedures in place where visitors into the school, into classrooms, and different transitions are using hand sanitizer and or soap and water when appropriate. We've increased sanitation, and if you go to our schools, if you were able to tour through the schools, I should say, you would see, and our staff sees, and our students sees, members of our custodial staff cleaning surfaces on a regular basis throughout our schools, door handles, the stair rails, different things that are high touch surfaces are constantly being cleaned to keep the schools safe. Our classrooms, and you'll see some photos of the classrooms in a few moments, have been set up to reinforce the 6-foot social distancing and to reinforce the procedures. We've added to our nursing staff. So now we have, in addition to a nurse at every school, they also have a nurse's aide. And that is so that we can staff appropriately in the event that we have sick children. Our transportation services have been modified. We do run quite a few buses now with very few students on them based on the 1/3 student regulation. So we're essentially carrying 1/3 of the students as total capacity on any given bus. But quite honestly, there are a few students riding our buses on a regular basis. That is something that we have to monitor as we go throughout the school year. We are also monitoring the community COVID-19 prevalence rate. I'm disappointed to have to share that we have moved to yellow this evening. I just found out a little while ago. It's not time to panic, but it is certainly time to pay attention. The State Department has instructed us to keep an eye on our COVID prevalence rates and look for a trend over several weeks. The yellow, of course, is that complex area where you start to get nervous because it's always much better to see green or be white. So we're going to keep an eye on that. To date, we have not sent students home with COVID from our schools. We have pledged that if that does happen, we would notify all families at that given school. And clearly we would work with our health department to do the contact tracing that is necessary. But certainly, as we've seen in other places, it's of concern that there's a slight uptick occurring. So we're going to keep an eye on that. I had mentioned a little bit of this just previously, but to prepare for school, we did hire a district health and safety coordinator. That's Nurse Karen Cheka from the high school. We've backfilled her position with a new nurse so that she is free to consult and move about our schools, helping answer the many COVID questions. We have had staff and students report situations where we'd have to investigate whether or not there was close contact, and therefore having Karen Cheka available to do that, to follow up, to make sure that we're following procedures has already proven to be extremely helpful. And I imagine as we get deeper into the fall, flu season kicks in, she's going to be very busy as we try to keep everybody safe. We've hired now 18 bus monitors. Dr. Farrick and her team have trained these bus monitors. I'm pleased to share they take this job very seriously, and they are assuring that the right children are getting on the right buses and that they're adhering to our safety protocols, and that has proven to be an important investment. We've added 3 custodians. We're currently having some custodians work overtime because we have 3 vacancies to our plan to make sure that we have 2 people in each building at all times so that the cleaning can consistently happen. So we are paying some overtime right now as we search for 3 additional custodians. We've hired our 6 nurses aides, as I mentioned. We've added some educational assistants. We've added teachers because of class size concerns, primarily at Charlton Street School. That was prior to school starting, but it was to prepare us for our COVID spacing requirements and class size requirements. We are in the process of trying to hire an additional technology support person because of the increased dependency we now have on technology. Just a reminder to folks, I shared this slide at our last meeting, but as I spoke about all those positions, I'm certain folks started to think in their minds, well, where's all that money coming from? And it certainly weighs heavy on me as I think about moving forward long-term. But these sources of funds, mostly federal, some pass through to the state, have made these changes possible and allow us to sustain this throughout this school year. Certainly as we begin the process, plan for finances for next school year, we're going to have a lot of difficult decisions to make, all depending on conditions on the ground. I now meet bi-weekly with the new town manager, Michael McCall. He and I began to speak about these things this afternoon, as a matter of fact. So we're going to try to plan carefully to position Southbridge to weather this storm and keep our kids safe and our schools open, if at all possible. Part of our investment this year to start school was technology. So as school opened, we began distributing Chromebook computers. We started with our secondary students who are in our hybrid model. That means they are going to school 2 days a week and they're learning remotely from home 3 days a week. There are 2 cohorts of students so that we split the entire population of the secondary school in half on any given day. I would remind you, we also have students who are learning remotely, and we call the Remote Learning Academy. Those students are staying home full-time, but learning online. So we distributed 1,259 Chromebooks, that number is growing, to those students. We also do have some Chromebooks at our elementary schools that are used for assessment. We have distributed 249 Wi-Fi hotspots at the moment. That provides internet access to families who do not have the means to do so, to ensure that those students are able to participate in school remotely, again, during either the hybrid model or as remote learners. We ordered our Chromebooks, 1,700 of them in June. That order actually has not arrived. I guess it'd be early August. We were notified by the vendor that a shipment of 108,000 Chromebooks had been seized by the US Department of Commerce because those Chromebooks were manufactured in China in conditions that violate the United States human rights regulations and laws. That combined with that crackdown, combined with the high demand, has put the Chromebook industry into quite a spiral. Some vendors are notifying districts that they should expect their orders in February. When we learned of this, Mr. Parent, our technology coordinator, came to me with an innovative idea. He identified a vendor that was able to produce refurbished Chromebooks. We were able to use some of the new federal funding, and we purchased a little bit over 500 of these refurbished Chromebooks to add to our old Chromebook stock, which we have Chromebooks that are at least 4 years old in the district. And that's how we were able to distribute Chromebook computers to students at this point. We have an estimate shortage, if we were to go to 1-to-1 for every student in the district, of about 300 Chromebooks. Good news is we are now told 300 of these Chromebooks will arrive within a week. So we're pleased that's happening. We were also told by the department, by DESE over the summer, that we would be given, initially it was 150 Chromebooks. That was rolled back to 100. We were told that those Chromebooks will come in November 11th. If and when we receive the balance of our Chromebook order, we'll be replacing the old Chromebooks with new, reliable, faster Chromebooks for our students. We can utilize the old ones as backups. Many of them have already failed and we've been swapping them out. It is a complex situation, but it appears as if by the grace, we are able to have what we need in the moment. But it is certainly an area of concern. So we'll keep an eye on that. As we shift to one-to-one computing, what is very clear and what we anticipated is we would need a much higher level of technology support, both for our teachers and for our students. So we were able to secure a contract with a firm who is now providing tech support. It's a help desk support to our families, and it could be used for staff, but we're really promoting it highly for our students and their families. It's from the hours of 7 a.m. to 8 p.m. Monday through Friday. They have Spanish language support. You can access the support by email, by live chat, and by telephone. We have found this to be extraordinarily helpful in the beginning days of school. I would share that the help desk is really about helping families and students troubleshoot technology issues around connecting to the internet and connecting to our network. Questions about assignments, about what to complete, how to do homework, etc., need to be directed to the school, and the teacher and or school administration can help those students. As I mentioned earlier, we have posted for an additional technology position for the district staff because we currently employ 2 technology people for the entire district. So you think about, we have 2,000 students and then all of our employees. That ratio is quite low. We are pleased that we do have a number of qualified candidates, and hopefully we'll be adding to our capacity to support technology. A word about our teachers' patience in all this. It's been quite amazing how they have taken to using technology regularly in their classrooms, really doing a magnificent job. Again, Dr. Farrick and I have made multiple tours throughout the buildings each week, and we walk in and we're seeing teachers really just grabbing the bull by the horns and doing a great job of instructing, using technology in a way that's never been asked to use before. And it's quite impressive so far. These pictures here begin to talk about what this shift in an instructional model looks like here in Southbridge. And a lot of the credit goes to Deb Langlois, a teacher up at the high school who leads our English language arts and department there. And over the summer, as we were grappling with how are we going to instruct kids who are learning remotely while also instructing students who are sitting in desk in front of the teacher, Deb kind of came up with this concept of having not only the teacher teaching through the same device we're currently using to hold this meeting, Google Meet, to kids online, but also having the kids sitting there in front participating in that same lesson. It is a bit of a juggling act for our teachers. We have a veteran teacher here who's been with the district for a number of years, but within a matter of days, now mind you, we had 14 days of training, but with a matter of live days with kids in front of them, they really are beginning to master this. And they are able to engage students who are at home while also engaging the students who are in the classroom. And what really makes me quite happy when I go into these classrooms is when the students at home are able to engage with the students in the classroom. So it's still a bit of a community. Yes, there are bumps and there's some awkward parts at times, but the fact that kids who are at home are basically socializing and on the same page with the kids who are in school, to me is very important. It's creating a community and a culture of learning. And really in many ways, they haven't missed a beat. I would say the pace is probably a little, but they're certainly moving in our curriculum. As you can see in this picture, we're adhering to the safety protocols. You see the spacing. You see kids wearing masks. You might be able to see on that, just past that young man's head on the table, is the Chromebook that is broadcasting the lesson that's being drawn there on the screen, while kids are working in our Ready Math, which is our new elementary mathematics program, which is being implemented. Even though we're in a pandemic, we can't slow down our improvement, and our kids need rigorous curriculum. And so we have implemented Ready Math, and it's going quite well. But as you can see in the instructional model, in this instance, you got the kids in the class. Most classes are 10 or less. I think I saw one class that had 12 or 13 students. All depends on the physical size of the classroom. And then there's typically about 10 more students at home. In the event we're able to come back to school, which I pray for that day, they could all rejoin each other in that one classroom. So it'd be a much seamless transit, a smooth transition. If we do have to go full remote, these students would join the others in remote and the learning would continue. So we feel like it's a good model to prevent disruption. Now at our middle school, we determined at the beginning of the year that we would try to pilot Edgenuity as an online learning platform. And so students are engaged in this Edgenuity courseware. The State Department has now made this available to districts across the Commonwealth. We have been using it for quite some time in our high school for credit recovery primarily. But we now have almost several hundred kids at the middle school engaged in courseware, rigorous courseware in Edgenuity. And so we're monitoring that. There is discussion about increasing more hybrid classes between, much like what I just described at the elementary and the high school level, in the middle school. But for now, we're still piloting Edgenuity, and we're going to monitor to see the impact. Excuse me. One thing I wanted to make sure that families were aware of that's super important is that we have opened the Aspen Portal. It's our family portal, which allows families and students to access their child's grades online. Eventually, this is going to give families access to the assignments and attendance records and disciplinary records. We're rolling it out slowly, beginning with the most critical information, which is the report cards, obviously. Soon, as we get towards that time when we do a progress report, we'll be inviting parents to see those grades through Aspen Online. So I'm encouraging families, if you do not have access to this now, please email help@southbridgepublic.org or ayuda@southbridgepublic.org, and we will help you get access to this portal. We're very pleased with the large number of families who have signed up. It's really been quite impressive. And what we're finding is it is a much easier way to communicate with families. It's allowing us to maintain their email addresses better, and we're just able to get information back and forth in a much smoother way, which I'm very happy about. But it's critical that we get every student's families connected to the portal. So now that we're open 3 weeks or so, we are looking forward to our next steps. Elementary schools, we will begin our assessment ERS October 5th, next Monday. That'll be Dibbles. And our iReady window is open in Charlton Street and West Street schools. And so we're beginning to assess students' literacy skills with these tools. Our partners have developed a methodology that will allow us to assess our kindergarten and early childhood children that are learning remotely, and the same way that we're assessing kids at school, so we'll have valid scores. I'm asking parents that when we do have students engage in these assessments, it's critical that parents do not help their children with these assessments, because what we do with the results helps us inform what instruction they will get. So this is not going to help improve their grades. So they're not penalized for these assessments, but what it does help us is understand what instruction we need to provide to the children so that the reading skills develop. So it's going to be very important. For me, this is a critical period because we shut down March 13th and went a long period of time not prepared for the pandemic. We did not have any of these plans in place. We weren't teaching in the way that we are now very happy that we are teaching. So I am somewhat afraid to see what type of regression we might be dealing with student learning, but it's critical to know. And we then will be able to build a better plan for each of the students based on where we identify their skill set to be at after that long period of shutdown. So it's a critical time in my mind. I think it's going to be very informative for us. And again, we built a system that is designed to meet students' needs. That's where we've been driving for several years based on what we learn about them through assessment. So in many ways, that will prepare us to deal with this problem, but it's certainly a challenge. There's no doubt about it. Many kids have not been in school for a long period of time. We have begun to survey secondary parents. So we were exploring getting families' opinions about potentially moving from our 2-day-a-week hybrid model to 4 days. Because quite honestly, as we walk around the secondary schools, there are very few kids in secondary level in school. There's a dramatic difference between the attendance of kids in elementary schools versus the high school. And it's not that the kids aren't going to class at the high school or middle school, because many of them, in fact, are. What the issue is they've chosen remote learning for a whole host of reasons, I'm sure. So that leaves small numbers of kids, sometimes 5, 6 kids in a middle school or high school class. And some students, particularly our high school students, are saying, gee, why should I come in if I could stay home and do the same thing? Because I'm here with 3 or 4 other people, and it's a little awkward compared to what a class used to be. So we did reach out and began to survey parents about their thoughts around that, whether or not moving to a 4-day schedule or a 5-day schedule, bringing all of the in-person kids back to the school, essentially doubling the number of kids in person. But candidly, based on tonight's information around our COVID status, I would not feel comfortable moving forward with that plan. So we'll continue to understand what people's feelings are around this. But we cannot move forward if we are in the uptick of COVID cases. I think we have to keep as safe as possible. And if things go green and we stay green for a long period of time, then we can reconsider. But we are going to continue to stay in communication with families. A priority this year for us will be identifying students who are not engaged in learning. Math, language arts, and our culture have always been our top priorities. Kids, if they're not coming online, the meetings, they're not participating, or if they're not coming in person to school as they've signed up for, we need to reach out and reestablish that connection. So we are working hard. Our data systems, and this is for every district across the Commonwealth, we have to add new attendance codes because you have virtual learners and you have hybrid learners, and you have kids who are supposed to be in school in person who are logging into a meeting remotely. It's great that they're doing that and they're participating in class, but they were supposed to be in school. So we need to mark them absent because they're signed up to be in school, but we can then also mark them virtually present. And so we need to track that. We need to then reach out to their family and say, are you choosing to go remote, or is this a 1-day circumstance? But attendance, physical attendance, is very important for safety. The engagement aspect to me is the most important piece. We need to make sure that we're not losing kids because of the barriers that this might produce, that learning remotely might create for some kids. Or again, they may be having technical issues, or their parent might be going to work, assuming the child is logging on to school, which is a reasonable assumption. I know I have 6 children. I tell them to do something. I often think they're going to do it, but you do follow up. And sometimes I'm disappointed with the choices my kids have made. So we need to make sure we're in communication with families so that we can ensure success of students. So that's going to be a real major push for the school district to try to connect with families. So that's a somewhat brief update of where we're sharing this screen. I'm sure there may be a question or two. So let me get myself back up here. All right, so thank you for your attention. I very much appreciate it.
Thanks for presenting.
Dr. Villar, I have one question. So, with these students that, if we have students that have chosen for whatever reason, that are attending in class, that are supposed to be in school, but have decided to attend remotely, how is that going to, I know that Massachusetts has attendance requirements. Do we know definitively how that's going to affect their attendance, or is it not going to affect their attendance at all as far as them meeting the minimum guidelines to continue on to the next grade on attendance?
Yes, thank you. Great question. So the position I've taken on this is that first and foremost, we want kids participating. But if you are signed up for in-person, we are obligated to mark you either present or absent. So if you're supposed to be in school because you're signed up as an in-person in-school student and you don't come to school, we're going to mark you physically absent. If you then log in, we'll mark you virtually present, and we'll have a record of both. But what we're asking, and this is primarily a secondary school issue. It may occasionally happen with elementary children, but that is likely going to be due to illness or some other piece that the school would be well aware of. But at the secondary level, then the administration and or guidance or worker will reach out to talk with the family, because it may be that, hey, you know what, we want to change our mind and we're going to move to full remote. No problem. We just need to make sure we're keeping accurate records. What the state has required is every district has to track the students' attendance. If they're remote, then it's virtual attendance. What will become an issue at the end of the year is trying to sort out when we have this mixture. So we're going to try to keep it as clean as possible. We're not holding anyone back if they decide they want their child to go remote. We have told families, if you decide you want to send your child to school, and I should add, a lot of ERS, early elementary age families have been sending their children to school. They've been changing their minds. And we're seeing more and more of our younger kids come to school, which I think is great, because I think that's really important for that age group. But again, deeply respecting parents' choice here. We will allow families to send their kids back. We just need notice and some time. So the school principal has to then make sure that they have classroom space. And if not, we have to rework and expand classes so that we're not causing a dangerous situation. So far, we've been successful with that. We'll see how this tracks out at the high school. Again, it's only been a few weeks at the high school level. I think it'll level off and we'll figure out where people really want to be, where kids are most comfortable, families are most comfortable, and it'll make our attendance a lot easier to track. Right now, we're essentially looking at attendance in the morning and in the afternoon. And based on state regulations, if you're virtual, you have to be at a preponderance of the virtual learning opportunities for that any given day. So you might miss a piece of it for whatever reason, but if you're there for most of the day, we're going to mark you virtually present. And that's based on state guidelines.
Are you going to utilize this remote learning ability when it comes wintertime and we have the potential for snow days? Is this possibly giving you an idea to maybe relook at how we think of our snow days coming up?
It's an interesting somewhat possibility and dilemma simultaneously, because there's a lot of contracts that get involved with snow days, and everything's been kind of constructed around the concept if we close for snow because of unsafe travel conditions or unsafe conditions in general, that we then extend the school year. And so I have to be mindful of that, and also remember that currently in particular, but maybe even still as we get into winter, not all kids will have access still haven't distributed one-to-one technology to folks. So the decision has not been made to do that. My initial leanings are to continue with our traditional snow days. Now, I have earned a reputation of being kind of Scrooge when it comes to snow days. I know that some people don't like that I tend to, make sure that in fact there's reason. Just having white stuff on the ground doesn't mean we need to go to school. It's really about the safety of roads, and roads can be quite safe even though you have snow on the ground. And so that's just something, societal tolerance that I see changing over time. But it's still under consideration at this point. But if you were to say you have to pick something right now, I'd say right now I'm going to stick to our traditional, we'll still have snow days. As we get deeper into this, and if we see that technology is in the hands of everybody and it can happen with equity and we can iron out our contract issues, then we might be able to do that.
Anybody else have any questions?
Chiro, yeah, I have a question with respect to the shortage of the Chromebooks. So, are students using old ones that don't have new ones, or how does that work? Obviously, they need to be able to. Are they sharing them with their siblings? How have you worked that out?
Yeah, thank you. So one thing we did is we did allow families, if they had their own technology, they could opt to have their child bring their own laptop to school. And we've got a good 24 or so students who have chosen to do that, which then freed up those devices that we would have assigned to them to give to another student. So we've made a bring your own device policy, and that seems to be working fine because as long as they connect to our network, we can ensure the safety of where they go through our network. So we've initiated that. We did distribute our older Chromebooks that we were using last spring for testing, and that's resulted in some of them having to be returned, low battery function, unfortunately, so a lot of them have to remain plugged in. It's not ideal, but they work. And for our at-home students, that's not really much of a problem at all. At the high school, in any remote learning, if kids need to access the computers, having batteries that are fresh is certainly an issue when they're not near an outlet. That's why we're very happy that we got 300 new ones coming. And hopefully that larger number will also show up because then I can distribute to every student in the elementary schools. And I'll feel much more prepared in the event that I need to close because all kids will have them and they'll be taught how to use them because right now, not all of them will know.
Has any thought been given to battery backup?
So we've explored quite a few different things. There are certain extension cords that are available. We have to make sure that we don't create dangerous conditions in the classroom.
Sure.
We've also explored, by the way, I should just share the potential use of iPads. We've explored the Android tablet devices as an alternative for some of the devices that students use. We've already taken Windows-based laptops and they've been converted to Chromebooks with a Chrome operating system installed on it. I got to give Mr. Parent a lot of credit for being quite resourceful and trying to figure out ways to get kids connected in devices that we can support, because that's another important part. When you only have a few technology people trying to make sure you're using an operating system that you can support from afar, like Chrome, is critically important. If we were using either Macintosh or PC, Microsoft-based operating system, we probably would need a lot more technology people. It's just a different type of management. So anyway, he's been very creative. We're dealing with the power pieces as we can. We do have quite a few old scrap Chromebooks that they are rebuilding all the time, making sure that we stay up and running. And I am pleased that 300 are coming because that is going to help quite a bit. Great.
Can I ask one more question about being in code yellow and how are they figuring that out? Last census, we had 17,000 people in Southbridge. And so based on, I forget, was it 5 in 100,000 that puts us in the code red or?
I don't have that right in front of me, but it is a formula like that.
Yeah, but I looked at it when you presented it last time. I just can't recall, but from what I calculated, if 2 people in Southbridge had COVID, that would put us in a code red.
Now, I believe we're around 4 people now.
Yeah, so I don't understand how they're
so-
doing that. If it's based on 100,000 people, are they looking at the community in general outside of Southbridge, or is it strictly in Southbridge?
It's a good question. We could ask the health department to be quite
Yeah.
honest.
Right.
What we're going to have to do is watch that. If it's still that way in the next Wednesday, or if it goes up, that'll be of great concern. If it stays yellow, we have to watch it. We'll be following up with the health department and get a handle on where the cases are, because that's really going to be important. And we'll see. So far, good news is that we haven't had to send kids home with COVID. We do know of people who have COVID in town, and so it's definitely alarming. But
Is there a mechanism for if some so there's HIPAA laws and everything else, but is there a mechanism if someone has COVID and has children in school that those kids get flagged for testing or quarantined or anything like that?
Yes, there are procedures and policies in place for that. And that's one of the reasons why we have Nurse Jecka leading that work.
Great.
It's critically important. Communicating around all of that is super important. To be very clear with everybody and people who might be watching at home, we all expect to have cases at some point. The key is, if we maintain our safety protocols, is to make sure that we're not creating a spreading scenario where we're transmitting the virus in school. And if we keep 6 feet distance, if we keep face mask on, and we keep washing our hands, we dramatically reduce that possibility. And I think that's really the best scenario we can do in school. And we
It's
have
definitely the best you can do, but I mean, 6 feet for 15 minutes, these kids are sitting there all day long. So you have to wonder, that's a guideline, but if you really think about it, what is the real statistical transmission rate of a kid sitting 6 feet for more than 15 minutes, especially when we're talking about hours? And I guess that's going to shake out in the long run.
I understand what you're saying. And interesting enough, though, the early studies are not showing schools as sites of great transmission. So that's good news. We'll see. There are schools in our country that are not following, any real protective regulations, and so that's a different scenario. But we obviously we're prepared.
You're doing
to
the
close.
best you can. Yeah.
Yeah, we're to me, this is absolutely serious business, and so it's critical for our youngest kids to be in school, especially. There's no doubt about it. All kids really need to be in school, and they are so happy to be in school. Those kids who are physically coming, it's obvious. But we got to make sure it's safe for everybody, and so we're going to keep monitoring this. And if things start to tick up, and if we start to see transmission or cases, I'm not afraid to shut schools down, and we'll go remote. Right now, it's just time to pay really close attention.
Yep, I agree. Thanks.
You're welcome.
Any other questions?
Yeah, I wanted to ask.
I don't really have a question. Oh, go ahead.
Thank you, Dr. Villar, for the presentation and the safe opening of schools here. I just wanted to ask about you showed a graph with the financial support numbers, the 4 grants you got. Are those just for Southbridge, or are those numbers split through the state?
No, those numbers are for Southbridge. 1.4 million of those dollars are monies that came to the town of Southbridge. So we have to work collaboratively with the town on the expenditure of those funds. The rest of them come directly to the school district, which has been critically important for us to even be open. We just wouldn't be able to be open if we didn't have those monies.
Okay, thank you so much.
You're welcome.
Lori?
I don't necessarily have a question. I have kudos to you guys. I've got 7 kids in Southbridge at the different schools, the 2 different schools, middle school, high school, and Charlton Street. That being said, I'm quite impressed with the teachers' patience and and the teaching that they're doing on the safety aspect. Never mind the math, the English, and all that. They're doing a great job per usual on those subjects, but they have the added heartache of wash your hands, mask, 6 feet, pay attention, walk straight. And the kids are getting it. My girls are coming home, their masks on the bus. They're not playing with their masks. I can take them to the store now. They don't play with their masks. So it is working. So thank you for paying attention. Thank you for keeping on top of it, and keep doing it. And we will too.
Thank you. I am very impressed with our teachers. Dr. Farrick has done a great job in leading the district around COVID from the very beginning over the summer, and our principals are really just knocking it out of the park. So, it's a team effort. Everybody's in it together, and I'm just very pleased with the commitment that I've seen, again, from families, from students, and teachers. Everyone's taking this very seriously.
As they should. It is kind of serious still, so I'm good.
Any other questions? Okay, Dr. Villar, thank you so much.
Thank you, Dr. Villar.
Oh,
Well, I just thanking him along with you before he signs off.
I'm sorry, Chair, I'm not sure. Thank you, Dr. Villar.
You're welcome. Thank you. Appreciate the opportunity to update everybody.
This is working so much better when we work together.
Agreed.
Okay. Chairman's announcements. We have one very exciting announcement. We finally are 7. The school committee and the town council together appointed James Malillo to be a board member, and we'd like to meet him, but right now we're Facebook friends. I have no other announcements other than the fact that it's good to see everybody, and I hope that we stay in the green. James, since you're brand new, I thought I'd give you the chance to make the first comments if you have anything you'd like to add to the meeting.
I have no comments tonight. Thank you.
Okay. Andrew?
Thank you, Madam Chair. First off, welcome, James, to the school committee. We appreciate you stepping up again, like I said, in our August 31st meeting. It's great that somebody stepped up to fill that spot. So thanks for making the board whole, and we appreciate you volunteering your time. As far as the opening of school with my son's in the Remote Learning Academy, and he is actually doing rather well. I'm actually severely impressed with how engaging the teachers are with the students that are learning remotely, and how they try to have everybody collaborate. My son actually does seem a lot more focused. I think that's more to his independent learning issues. He does better independently, in a small environment with very few distractions, but he actually enjoys school, and he has seemed to adapt really well to Edgenuity. So I think that utilizing that program for our secondary school is going to be beneficial to ensuring that our kids are not only catching up with what they've missed, but are able to improve upon comprehension on the curriculum, as well as improve their growth. And with Dr. Villar starting these assessments, I look forward to the first round of seeing where we're at. Not so that way we can see exactly where we have to go with what we've lost from that time. I do encourage parents to understand that, to have a little bit of patience. There have been times where my son's been frustrated and I've been frustrated with connectivity issues. It happens. It doesn't. I've seen some negative feedback on Facebook regarding some of the remote learning issues. Um, I want to reiterate the fact that because of this pandemic, districts across, including our own, pretty much asked towards the end of May, hey, we need you to reinvent the wheel, and you've got less than 3 months to do it. I think for the time frame that we were given and the amount of hurdles that our district has seen, I got to commend the teachers, the staff, and the district as a whole. I think you guys have done an A+ job of making sure kids are engaged in learning, and and I agree with Dr. Villar, making sure that the kids are engaged and learning and creating that learning environment and learning community in this town is going to be vital to not only helping us get to where we need to be to catch up, but to continue to move us forward. So I do ask parents, understand it's technology. Computers don't always work, and technology isn't 100% flawless. There are going to be issues. Just be patient. Utilize the resources that the district has with the tech hotline. And if you have any questions about your children's classes or anything like that, don't use the tech hotline for that. I would ask you to either email the help email, either help@Southbridge Public or ayuda@Southbridge Public, or contact your child's classroom teachers directly to answer those kinds of questions. It'll just help making sure to free up the tech help people to ensure that they can help the students that need it, and they're free and available. Other than that, again, I thank you guys I thank the district and the teachers and the staff of this district very much. You can tell that this is done out of love, and they want to make sure that our kids not only learn but have that sense of community and that social growth. And I hear my son getting the lessons. You can hear that it's coming from a place of passion, and to see that we have such passionate teachers instructing our kids, I couldn't ask for anything more of a district. So thank you.
Lori, do you have any questions or comments tonight?
No, I think this was another successful meeting. I have no questions, sorry. But another successful meeting, I believe. I mean, I like where we're heading. I like what we're communicating. I like how we're coming off. We're on the right path, I believe. So kudos to all of us for making it work.
I still would like us to be in person. Soon. Spiro, do you have any questions?
Me too.
Spiro? Bill Bishop, are you here now? Oh, I've got Spiro on the line. Okay, yes, Spiro? I cannot see you, but do you see the little red microphone in the bottom of your box? You got a box with an S in it? It says Spiro Thomo at the bottom. Well, we're going to have the tech help people. I think Spiro can call the tech help people. Do you have anything? Yeah, little. Oh. Okay, we'll keep working on this, Spiro. You take care. Okay, Spiro says that everything is fine, and he's still having a little trouble with the check, but I think he can call the tech helpline. Bill Bishop, are you here? No. Chiro? Dr. DiMaglio?
You guys are just, can you hear me?
Yes.
Yeah, I was saying I can't do a better job than repeating what Andrew said. I mean, he's spot on. Great work, and calling us if you need help. I mean, we continue to be a kind of resource, and these meetings are about the only thing we can do at this point. But I think that anybody on the committee would be happy to help in any specific way, and so keep that in mind, Dr. Villar. And that's it. I'm all set. Thanks.
Anyone else have any comments? Hearing none, I'll entertain a motion to adjourn.
So moved.
The second?
Second.
Second.
All in favor?
We have to, Madam Chair,
Aye.
point of order.
Yes?
Pursuant to Governor Baker's executive order, we have to do all of our votes by roll call.
Oh, thank you. Thank you. Yes, we do. Okay, Lori Angers?
Yes. Voting to adjourn, yes, sorry.
adjourn.
Aye.
Just say yes or no.
Yes.
Okay. Dr. D. McGee. I'm not gonna do it.
Hey.
Giro,
Yeah. Yeah. I agree. We can adjourn.
James,
Yes.
adjourn. Okay. Andrew Spiro is Martina Shea, adjourn. Did I miss anybody? I don't think so. Very confusing. Can we go back to being people?
Soon, I hope.
On that happy note, we are adjourned at 7:59. One perfect.